For the first time in their history, Canada made it to the knockout stage of a World Cup. And for the first time in their history, they had to watch that dream die right in front of their own fans on their own soil on the 4th of July. Broken Heart Canada. There's a particular kind of heartbreak reserved for home nations at World Cups, and on the night of July 4th in Houston, Canada learned exactly what that feels like. 72,000 fans packed into NRG Stadium, many of them Canadian, having traveled south hoping to witness history. Instead, they watched their team go down 3-0 to Morocco, a defeat that ended a tournament run that had already rewritten the record books for Canadian football, but couldn't rewrite the ending anyone truly wanted. Let's rewind for a second, because to understand the heartbreak, you have to understand the hope that came before it. Canada, co-hosting this tournament alongside the United States and Mexico, had never once won a match at a men's World Cup before the summer. Not one. They had appeared at the 1986 tournament and left without a win, a draw, or even a goal. That was the baseline. That was 40 years of history weighing on this team every time they stepped onto the pitch. And then something remarkable happened. Under coach Jesse Marsch, this Canadian side didn't just compete, they pressed teams into submission. Against South Africa, in a match that decided their path into the knockout rounds, Canada suffocated their opponents with a level of intensity not seen in a World Cup match since 2010. Stephen Eustaquio buried a stoppage-time winner that sent the stadium into delirium and sent Canada through to the round of 16 for the first time ever. Alphonso Davies, their biggest star, was fighting his way back from injury to give everything he had for this run. For a nation where hockey dominates the conversation, where soccer has often lived in the shadows, this was a golden generation finally arriving. Kids across Canada were staying up or waking up early, just to watch these players become the first in their country's history to do what generations before them couldn't. Then came Morocco. And on paper, this looked like a winnable game. Morocco had reached the semi-finals in Qatar back in 2022, becoming the first African nation ever to do so. But this Canadian team had shown they could match intensity with anyone. And for the opening half hour, they did exactly that. Canada pressed high, won the ball back repeatedly, and created the better chances. Tani Aliouassai broke clean through Morocco's defense only to be denied by a stunning save from goalkeeper Yassine Bounou, who ironically was born in Canada himself before representing Morocco internationally. Jonathan David tested Bounou again from a tight angle. Canada had done the harder part. They'd matched a semi-finalist blow for blow. But football has a cruel habit of punishing missed chances, and 5 minutes into the second half, Morocco made Canada pay. Azzedine Ounahi curled home a clinical finish from just outside the box. The stadium went quiet in a way that only happens when a home crowd senses the story slipping away. Canada pushed forward desperately, throwing bodies forward, chasing an equalizer that never came. And in the 82nd minute, Ounahi struck again, doubling his tally and Morocco's lead. Whatever hope remained in that stadium evaporated. Substitute Soufiane Rahimi added a third deep into stoppage time, turning a tense contest into a scoreline that looked far more one-sided than the match had actually been. When the final whistle blew, the cameras found what they always find in these moments. Canadian players standing motionless on the pitch, hands on hips, staring at nothing in particular. Young players who had just made history for their country, now sitting with the realization that the history-making run was over. Fans in the stands, wrapped in Canadian flags, applauding a team that had given them something they'd never had before, even as tears mixed with that applause. This is the strange duality of being a host nation that overachieves and then loses. There's genuine grief, because the dream is gone, because it happened at home, because there won't be another World Cup on this soil for who knows how many years. But there's also something that feels a lot like pride, because this Canadian team leaves this tournament having done something no Canadian team had ever done before. They won a World Cup match. Then they won another. They reached a stage no Canadian side had ever reached. The building blocks for something bigger are now undeniably in place. For the players themselves, this loss will sting for a long time. Jesse Marsch has built genuine belief inside the squad, and stars like Davies, David, and Eustaquio now know what it feels like to compete at this level and come agonizingly close to going even further. that experience doesn't disappear. If anything, history shows that heartbreaks like this one often become the fuel for the next generation's success. As for Morocco, their story continues. They now move on to face France in the quarterfinals on July 9th in Boston, chasing a chance to go even further than their historic 2022 run. For Canada, the World Cup is over, but in many ways, their story as a footballing nation feels like it's only just beginning. The question now isn't whether Canada belongs on the stage. They just proved that they do. The question is how much higher this team and this country can climb the next time the World Cup comes calling.